Who's in the chat? I see Laura Taylor's here. Cotton Zebra Doggy, Frank the Tank, Joseph Tavir. Greetings. Check out what we've got here. I was just filming a short involving these and figured they were right here. I might as well kind of showcase them for a moment. Who can name these? Who can be the first to name this species and morph correctly? I think it's not a difficult one to do. It's always fun. It can be informative for the beginners and just kind of fun for everybody. Thank you, Frank, for confirming audio-visual contact. So Cotton the Zebra Doggy, pretty good guess. They're closely related. My Therapeutic Life, welcome. And I noticed that you put some comments in the chat, so we'll get that. We'll get to there. Let's see. I'm gonna pull up my comments so I can make sure to address those. I see Varian Brown here as well. 503 is with us again. Great. Here's another species folks can attempt to identify. I think this one's going to be pretty easy as well, but it's fun. So why not, right? Why not? So weird. I'm from Elko, Nevada, and I don't know anybody in Elko, Nevada that I'm aware of. Okay. Let's see. I think I have the... Yeah, I've got your comments here. My Therapeutic Life. And there we go. These are... Why is everything dark? What the heck? Is everything dark for you, everybody? Well, shoot. What's going on? Why did everything just die? Is everything dark for you guys? I can't see anything through the screen here. Whether I turn... Here. Flip the camera around for a second. Oh, this is crummy. I can't see. I can't see anything. So, can you see the isopods on the screen? Still? Okay, my screen is totally dead. But if you can see, then that's cool. I'll just need some feedback so I can make sure to get everything on the screen. Let's see. What the heck? No, camera. Do you see me for a second there? Did I pop back on? Okay, I can't see anything. It's so weird. My screen's just black. Okay, well, let's keep going. So I'm going to see what I can do here. So the one on the left is Armadillidium klugi Montenegro orange. And the one on the right is Oniscus acellus BC maple. So I think some of you got that. Okay, so are we looking at isopods or are we looking at me? I see that, let's see, flip the camera. How's that? How's this? Yeah, I don't want people looking at me. Okay, you don't need to be looking up my nose while I'm filming. Okay, so you can see the isopods now? Okay, good. Gum Gum Boys here. Who else haven't I greeted? Major WD, Laura Taylor, Tima's here as well, CW Brown. Okay, very top of the cups. So if I, is that better if I do this? How's that? Okay. Sounds like we're in business. Or at least pretty close. Like this? How's that? Part of the problem is it's hard to get immediate feedback because there's always a lag, so I don't always know how I'm doing. How does this look? If I just scoot them a little. Is that any better? Oh, what are we doing, snakes? Why are we freaking out over there? Got a male garter just freaking out. Maybe he was attempting to mate? I don't know. How's that? Let's try that. I see Daniel's here too. Welcome, Daniel. Vaping Smokers here as well. Did I welcome Varian Brown already? I'm trying to make sure I get everybody. Okay, we got a couple people saying we're good now, so that's excellent. Okay, it is so weird that I can't see anything. I hope my iPad has not died. You can see like the top 80% of the cup. So if I scooted just a touch more, that's good. Okay, great. I'm going to put a little snack in there for the isopods and see what they do. I'm not sure if they'll eat right now. They might. It is such a strange feeling trying to stream when I just see a dark screen. Like it's very helpful to get feedback from you, but I feel so strange, just like I'm casting my live stream into the void, but I still hear you. Yeah, that's a wise idea. Where's my painter's tape? I have some painter's tape somewhere, but I'll just put, I just put a little dog food in there. Dog food is a great little snack for isopods. Trick I learned from, I don't remember if I learned it from Kyle at Roach Crossing first or Invertebrate Dude first, but they both use a lot of dog food, and it's cheap and it's a good source of food for the isopods. They seem to do well. It's not the only thing I feed. It's a supplementary food, of course. They need to have their leaf litter and stuff, but yeah, it's good stuff if you use it. And I usually don't soak it. They just eat it dry. Or sometimes I soak it. It's rare, but let's see. I see that some more people have showed up. Corey Dora is here. Don't go any lower than that. Okay, cool. A good idea, by the way, with the tape. Thank you for suggesting that. Looks like one of them is already munching. And I just got a text for someone who needs some Daphnia locally. A lot of people get Daphnia for their axolotls locally here, and it's good for me. I get a lot of sales on Daphnia that way. And I ship a lot out. I think I shipped out 5 starter portions of Daphnia today, along with other things. But yeah, it's I don't know how much money I've made from Daphnia over the years. Woo, tripping over something. I have a stack of clean snake dishes that I just tripped over. That's fun. Okay. Well, let's see. I'm not going to have you just look at these isopods the whole time, but I figured we'd start out that way. And maybe we can take a look at some other things. I wanted to take a look at the duckies a little bit. The rubber duckies, look at my darker ducky line and see how they're doing. Well, I wouldn't call them a line yet. My darker ducky bin. Let's see. So let's see. Is the orange-yellow light on the orange-colored specimens makes it a bit harder to focus on the isopods? Oh, that makes sense. Yep, Yotaro, it is actually dog food. Could you slide it up to the notch in the styrofoam, like this line? Is that what you mean? Oh, Varian Brown, yeah. Axolotls seem to be, I mean, it's one of the best foods for the younger axolotls for sure, and the adults will eat them too. And have you seen the recent reclassification of the Marulin allogenus? Yeah. Yeah. And I saw it maybe a couple weeks ago, something like that. And I was just referring to it today. A lot of species were reclassified into a different genus. I don't remember the genus now, but even some that were not in the Marula were also reclassified into that genus. Where they interlock would be center screen, like that. Okay, so Yotaro, we don't have a dog. I buy the dog food not just for the isopods. I buy it for various creatures. A lot of creatures eat it. My crickets eat some of it. That's not all I give them, but I do give them some of that. I use it for my grindleworms. They eat it. Who else eats it? My beetles, a lot of my beetles, including mealworms and superworms, desert beetles eat it. Just looking around. I have millipedes that eat a little bit of it. Millipedes, of course, have a more stringent dietary requirements in general than isopods, but a lot of them can eat that. Just looking around the room and seeing if I can find other creatures that eat it. I'm culturing a tiny little species of beetle. I'm not sure what it's called. I need to get it keyed out or whatever. But they eat it. Who else eats it? That's all I can think of for now, but I'm sure I'm missing some. Let's see. So that notch would be mid-screen. Yeah, so hopefully that's working. My nanofish love Daphnia. We get the frozen cubes. Yeah, I have lots of fish that love the Daphnia. I have had lots of fish that love the Daphnia, and I do feed Daphnia to my fish once in a while, but I actually sell more Daphnia than I feed off because so many people want them. Yeah. Let's see, Ardentiella, that's the name. Yes. Thank you, Major WD. So these are not vulgare. These are Armadillidium klugi Montenegro orange. These are Oniscus ocellus BC maple. So the tiny little beetles that I'm culturing, they might be, I'll need to see. 503, I need to get some close-up photos and stuff and send them to somebody who would know, like TJ or somebody, see who could help me ID them. At first I thought they were buffalo worms, but I think they're smaller than buffalo worms. They're very similar in many ways, but they appear to be smaller and have a different body shape. So vaping smuggler, you feed freeze-dried shrimp rehydrated. I've given both fresh shrimp and dried shrimp without rehydrating it to my isopods, and they like that. Yeah, Yotaro, thanks for the question. I think you get people who will have different opinions about dog food, and I think that's fine. But I'm glad you asked. I think it's kind of nice to point out that there's people who have been using dog food as a staple in the hobby for years longer than most people have been in the isopod hobby, and it works out pretty well for them. So yeah, I'm glad you mentioned it. Yeah. So I should ask TJ and see what he thinks about them. So yeah, dog food for feeders like roaches. Roaches are even better with dog food because roaches have the bladybacteria in their systems, and they can essentially turn almost anything into a nutritious diet, more so than most creatures can, which is part of the reason they can become such effective pests. Certain species, a few species, can become such effective pests is because they can turn almost anything into food. But it also makes them excellent feeders because they can take something that's not all that nutritious, like dog food, like poor quality dog food, and turn it into high quality food, basically. Can ivory millipedes eat it like dog food? They can. I would recommend that not being a staple food source for them. Even for isopods, it shouldn't be a staple food source. But millipedes should really get the the rotting wood and the leaves and stuff, and isopods should get a lot of rotting leaves and probably wood too. So yeah, I think you could occasionally offer it to them. I do occasionally offer dog food to my millipedes and they eat it. It depends. Spirostreptus species 1 eat a lot of it. They really seem to like it. And I do indeed feed fish food as well, Daniel. Quite a bit of fish food as well. A lot of times with the smaller colonies, I will give fish food more because it's easier to control how much they eat, and you don't want to give too much. And you give a small colony of dog food and it can tend to mold. The bigger colonies I give more dog food to, and they just go right through it. Corridor, I hope you get those golds going. I really do. Tennyson Kingsley has a really cool line, okay, of golds. I'm going to try to move these temporarily. Don't let me forget those. I need to put them away so they don't dry out. They're on plaster of Paris, which has been moistened, so it's going to last a while, but not forever. Okay, let's see if I can find some of these duckies. Should be some. Oh, I see some hanging around. I'm trying to go for the darker duckies. Can you see this? Can you see the darker duckies on this marigold, on this magnolia pod? I see a couple of darker duckies there. And I see some more. There's another one down there, but okay. Oh, Frank to Tank. I haven't seen TJ's Armadillo vulgare basalt and sunflower from Kuna, Idaho. I need to check that out. So Chet, at least a good number of these darker duckies are from you. So you're not seeing the whole pod. How about this? You're seeing those better if I put them up here. So leftover tortoise food, yeah, it seems like a good idea. Yeah, I can't really set that down. There is, maybe I can. There's another ducky, smaller one. Can you see that one on the piece of wood there? Nice dark little ducky. Oh, okay. I'm going to put this one down. There's not a whole lot going on in the colony right now. I mean, I'm sure there's a bunch in there, but they're not a lot I can see. Probably mostly buried, like on the mossy side or something. It's a fairly new colony. Started it with the ones from Chet and a few darker ones from my group. Original positioning was best. Okay, well, I'm going to move on to some other isopods. Let's see. I'm going to take these back to where they go and bring something. Does anybody have an isopod request? Sorry, I pulled my microphone off by accident. I'll put it back on in a minute, but if you can, and thank you, Laura, I do appreciate it. We want to watch Porcellio. We want to see Porcellio werneri. Okay. Let's see. I'm going to put the BC maples back in their enclosure. Porcellio werneri are always a big favorite. So let's see some Porcellio werneri, and then we can look at some other ones that you posted in the chat. I'm going to need some help. We can see some Jestroy too. Some big ones. Okay, well, Huffs or Titans are certainly big ones, so we can do that. Okay, putting the duckies away. Oh, I should have given a little food while I was head them out. I need to do that. Let me grab some food real quick after I get these going. Oh no! Darn things, pyralis moths. Those frustrate me to no end. I'll be right back. I always think I'm getting rid of the pyralis moths, and then in the spring, a couple more of them show up and they start breeding, little buggers. Not pleased with that. Okay. But I'm pleased with this. Can you see all those Porcellio werneri right there? Sorry, I dropped my mic and everything. That was frustrating. grabbing some stuff here. I love the wall-to-wall werneri look. It's just the coolest, isn't it? Yeah, I do recommend these. I don't recommend necessarily as your first isopods. They're maybe a little bit hard to nail down good husbandry at first. So maybe not the best one to begin with, but they're a great isopod. So if you have some experience with some that like a nice moisture gradient and some concave hides, things like Klugai Montenegro or even Porcellio Huffman's egg eye or something, and you have some good experiences with them, then go ahead and try these. They're fantastic. I don't find them territorial at all. They do seem to just like to do this wall-to-wall thing. Who is asking about that? Let's see. So incog inverts. Yeah, I don't find them nearly as territorial. They just tend to like this wall-to-wall thing. So great question. Great to have you back in stream. So Daniel, do you have Armadillidium espagnoli? Not anymore. That's one of the ones I decided not to keep. I love them. They're beautiful little pods. They're not one I can ship. And of the ones I don't ship, I really try to be very judicious. So, try to keep those to a minimum. Like this is one I can't ship as well, but I like these even more than Armadillidium espagnoli. So I decided to keep these. I got these locally anyway. They weren't shipped to me. Let's see. So Ocean, I'm not sure how to say your name, but do you ever use different species of springtails? Preferences? The springtails that I use are basically this one, which is known as Sinella curviceta, and it's been reclassified or re-identified or something as, what is it? Cecobria tenebricosa, I think. That's the one I use. It's my favorite. Does really well in just about any isopod enclosure as well as other enclosures. It breeds well. Great one. And Major WD. They do tend to be fairly expensive. Yeah. And this guy, I wouldn't be surprised if these were referred to as Spartan shields. I've heard them referred to as the Greek shields. So it's very, very likely. They are a Greek isopod and they do look like shields, so it's very likely. So Chet, you're going to be at Reptilian Nation. I'd want to buy some of those off you there if you're willing to part with a few. I wasn't going to have a table at Reptilian Nation this year. I usually just do the Wasatch Expo. I'm not even sure if I'm going to be able to do it this year or not. But I'll tell you what, Chet. You gave me some really cool stuff last time. And if we can work it out, I will either send you some for the cost of shipping, or if we can meet up, I'll just give them to you. Because you give me a bunch of rubber duckies. I mean, come on. I can easily give you some of these. I'd be happy to do that. So let's chat. Send me a message on Instagram. That's how we've been in contact, right? Send me a message on Instagram and we'll talk about it. I wish I could do that for everybody, but Chat gave me a bunch of cool stuff, including some bunch of nice dark rubber duckies. So, so those of you who are listening without audio, do you just see the transcript? I guess that's what you're doing. That's got to be it. Otherwise, it would be really boring to just watch it and not hear anybody talk, I would imagine. Some pandas. Cool. And Daniel, I have kept a Perakai, another one that is a cool isopod, but I decided not to keep it anymore because I can't ship it. So my therapeutic life, if you have different springtails and you mix them in enclosures, what's more than likely to happen over time is that one of them is just going to suit the enclosure better than the others and it's going to outcompete the others. So from the standpoint of a huge problem, it depends on how you define a problem, I guess. If you want the different species to coexist peacefully, indefinitely, probably not going to happen. If you just want one species of springtail that is really well suited to that enclosure, then no problem at all. And I don't say that to be like flippant or anything. I'm just trying to, make it sound, make it clear what's going on. By the way, I need to refer to your questions from Patreon. So there's a couple of them. One says, I hope I can get near the TV. Oh, this is okay. Catch your live place. I've been wondering what isopods like zebras and punta canas look like when they're in very early stages of life and then growth. I know what youngsters and adults look like, but want to be sure I can identify what's in enclosures regardless of the stage the isopod is in. I'm also curious about the same information for white springtails. Along with the information, do you have any stock photos of the above to illustrate? If not, can you provide a couple of good links? Good meaning for me, not too much science lingo to help with identifying what's what. Thanks and have a good one. So, great question. When they are small enough not to be obvious, I feel like this is the problem. Without like doing some serious microscopy and like dissecting stuff, which is not my jam. I don't fault people for doing it because we need that information in the hobby, but I don't have the equipment nor the inclination to dissect isopods for identification purposes, even though we need people, absolutely need people in the hobby who do it. I'm not one of those people. So without doing that, when you have really, really tiny isopods, like zebras that were just born, or punta canas that were just born, you can tell they're armadillidium by looking at them because they have the armadillidium shape and they can conglobate even when they're tiny. But when they're so small that you can't tell them apart, they're just basically look the same. They're white. Okay? And once they're big enough so that you can start telling them apart, the differences between them start to become obvious. So I hope that didn't sound overly simplistic. It's just basically they don't look very different from each other until suddenly they do. And you can see, oh, look, this one has zebra stripes. It's no longer all the way white. And then you know it's a zebra. So that's kind of how it works. That sounds kind of dumb when I say it out loud, but does that make sense? I'll address your other question. You can ask me some follow-up questions. Okay. Let's see. The other question is, been putting together isopod food and came across some raisins in the pantry, long in the tooth but not moldy. Do you think a bit of dried fruit would be okay to put on a hide or tray? Not in the food recipe, of course, for a few days, or does something weird happen to isopods when they munch on them? It wouldn't hurt to try them and see how they do in general. Any pesticides that might be residual on there are probably long gone if they've been, they were raisins first and then they were sitting there being dried fruit for a long time. They're probably, any pesticide residues are not an issue anymore, probably decayed or degraded or whatever. That would be my opinion. You could try a little bit and see what they do. Whether or not they get interested in it, that's another question, but you could probably just try it. And, I've tried things like that. I don't know what kind of acceptance you'll get. Probably depends on the species and how much food they have and all that kind of stuff, but there you go. I hope that helps. So, Incog Inverts Canada. Yeah, we have a very limited numbers of isopods that can legally go across state lines without a containment facility. So if I were to ship to someone who has a containment facility and has the proper permits, or I could ship more species. But basically, if you don't have a containment facility, there's approximately a little over 20 species that you can ship across state lines. And they tend to be isopods that are well established in the U.S., or at least established to some degree in the U.S. So we can ship Porcellio scaber to most states. We can ship Porcellio laevis to many states. Porcellio spinicornis, Venezuela parvis, Cubaris marina, Armadillidium maculatum. There's quite a few, but most of them are either. There's a small list of natives like Porcellionides virgatus that we can ship, and then there's a list of ones that are just well established here, like Armadillidium vulgare and whatever. And the main thing that we can do to help isopods be shipped to places is to find academic sources indicating that they are established in the U.S. And that doesn't mean, go release them somewhere so that they get established in the U.S. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about we can find academic papers, multiple academic sources that say, we found this species. If people were able to come up with these peer-reviewed scientific journals that say Armadillidium jestroy has been recorded in the wild in these 3 states in the U.S., and then we send that information in to APHIS, they would probably clear Armadillidium jestroy to be shipped. I actually got the Springtail species that I work with cleared to be shipped in many states in the U.S. by doing that. I was able to demonstrate that it was established in a number of states, and once I was able to do that with scientific sources, multiple scientific sources, then they were cleared. So that's how that works. So Zuzu, biggest individuals you've seen of the species you keep. Well, like the one you're talking about, that some huge specimens in a gecko habitat, it was a zebra. It was an Armadillidium maculatum, and it was probably twice the length and twice the girth of most that I see. So it was very nearly an inch long. It looked like that. Maybe it wasn't quite an inch long, but it was close, and much wider than normal. I think part of the condition is it didn't have a lot of competition. It had a lot of food and there weren't other individuals there. And isopods, when they tend to be in very low population densities, will sometimes go into a mode where they put more energy into growth than into reproduction. If they're in a larger population, they tend to divert more resources towards reproduction. And so the idea is in the wild, if they do that, they put a lot of energy into growth. And then if they do encounter a mate, they can produce a huge number of babies once they do. But if they don't, produce a huge number of babies, if they don't encounter a mate, they'll just keep diverting their energy towards growth. And I think that's what happened with the zebra that I saw. Okay, now somebody just asked, My Therapeutic Life asked about the size of the babies. I would say, I can't recall an exact measurement of baby Armadillidium and whatnot, but it's not very big at all. It's maybe a millimeter or so. It's very tiny, but if anybody can look that up, one of the mods can look it up and post a link there to see, because I don't want to misconstrue that information and give a wrong length. They're very tiny. So if anybody, one of the mods can look it up and post it, that'd be awesome. To a reputable source. Can isopods eat papaya? They can, yeah. Just maybe you want to peel it and make sure you're not getting pesticides to your isopods, but. Do you have any tips to get dwarf whites breeding in large numbers? I've had my culture for about 6 months and it was less than I would hope for in this point. Thank you, Russ. So Aiden, if you are in a position to keep them a little warmer, that will help. Their breeding speeds up when they're warmer, and I'm not super warm, but if you're like somewhere around 80 degrees Fahrenheit, maybe even up to 82 or so, 85 even, probably no higher with that, and they will breed pretty fast, and then they need a good source of food. If you are able to, and I'm speaking about this from secondhand experience basically, but I had a nice long conversation with Kyle from Roach Crossing about this, and if you could keep them with like hissing cockroaches or something, keep them in the substrate with your hissing cockroaches, they will eat the cockroach frass and they will thrive, and you'll have more dwarf whites than you know what to do with. That's been his experience anyway. So ocean Armadillidium vulgare is apparently European in origin originally and was brought here to the New World with European folks a few hundred years ago, and to other places around the world as well. So they are found nearly worldwide now, very widespread distribution, because they were spread around as Europeans tended to spread around. And incog inverts has the same kind of ideas. So yeah, warm them up, feed them. Yeah, protein-based food, I should have mentioned that, but incog inverts did, so we're good. Let's see. We were going to look at some Huffman zagi, right? I'm going to move these guys out and do some Huffman zagi. I should let you all know that I'm ending earlier today, just like 5 minutes earlier. My wife and I are going to enjoy the spring weather outside, and we talked about that. Just to make sure we can enjoy it while it's still outside. We're going to just end like 5 minutes early. So we've still got a good amount of time. That's like 20 minutes we still have. So here's some Huffman zagi. Hopefully you'll be able to see them. Still flying blind, folks. I just redid this colony, so there's only a few in here. There's like a trio in here or something. And I hope we can find some. Oh, there's two males right there. Can you see them? And there should be a female in here as well. I think this is the reverse trio enclosure. These are young ones, not fully grown yet. And then I have another one with I think it's a trio. It's a male and two females or something like that. Or maybe it's just a pair. Isopods can, yeah, some people feed isopods to fish, depending on the fish. Some of them will like it. Anyone else see the isopod with a dent in it? I have seen those. I saw one in my Porcellio werneri colony at one point. I don't know if it's still there, but it sounds like it might be. So Zuzu's asking, maybe it would be a good idea to have a display enclosure with only a handful of individuals from a surface active species that will get huge. That is a possibility. Jestroy tend to get huge anyway, so if you want a good surface active species that's colorful and whatnot, and tends to grow slowly but get big, Jestroy would be the way to do it. And if you could do all one sex and no babies, you might get some really big ones. Of course, that'll be easier to do with males because once you've found females and separated them from a colony, they've probably already mated, unless they're really tiny. Yeah, and these are still, they've still got some growth to do. They're not even fully grown yet. They're probably, I don't know, it's hard to say. With Europods, they're probably an inch, not including antennae, but just body and Europods, probably about an inch long, and they'll get bigger. TDI Exotics, welcome. These look an awful lot like Magnificus. I like to think of them as the easier Magnificus. And personally, I think I like these better. Just they're more beautiful, I think, than Magnificus. I like Magnificus a lot, but I think these are more beautiful. So Lavo found a single piebald Peace Scaber recently. I think it's a female. I would just put it, well, there's a couple of ways to do that. Probably just put it with one male. It's probably already mated if it's, adulthood, but you could put it with just a few males, or you could put it by itself. You could put it in something, if you have the ability to put it in with something that would help it thrive, like put it with one male in an enclosure with cockroaches or something, and then it would be, it could do really well and the colony could grow really fast. But if you can't be 100% sure, I'd just put it with a small group and hope that in a couple of generations the colony proves out with some more piebalds. So, Gotcham, I wouldn't necessarily keep an ivory millipede with your dart frogs for a couple of reasons. One, the toxins from the millipede could perhaps be bad for the dart frogs. If a dart frog, say, jumped on the millipede and the millipede released repugnatorial fluid, it could be a problem. I don't think the dart frogs would try to eat it because it's far too big, for dart frogs to even try because they are micro predators. But I would say that another thing is the substrate for dart frogs and the substrate for millipedes and the moisture needs are probably too different. Ivory millipedes they're going to need a lot of rotted wood in their substrate and rotted leaves and stuff like that, and they don't like it as moist as dart frogs do. They need some moisture in their substrate, but not as much as dart frogs. And the humidity probably too high, too. So that would be my 2 cents on that. I don't keep that species of dart frog, but I have kept millipedes, and I do keep dart frogs, and that would be my take on that. So, yeah, these are, I see that Duke and Enzo's here. Yep, these are orange Huffs. And I did see Duke and Enzo. I did see the new Almeria Mountains Magnificus. Was it maybe Invert Squad, Tennyson, who posted those? I think these orange Huffs might be descended from ones that TJ produced. Maybe. These come from Tennyson. And I know Tennyson gets stuff from Invertebrate Dude all the time, so. So Chet, are yours the nominate form of the gray Hoffman's egg eye? I have a black Hoffman's egg eye and I have these right now. I'll have to think about that. I appreciate the offer. I'm trying to really focus, and I might just stick with the orange house, but I'll think about that because it's hard not to. Think about that kind of stuff. They're kind of awesome. All right, we've seen Huffman's egg eye, we've seen duckies, we've seen Armadillidium klugi, we've seen Porcellio werneri, pandas. Okay, I gotta warn you about my pandas though. I'm just gonna tell you right now. My pandas are weird. They're like throwing a ton of weird looking individuals, which is not necessarily a bad thing. It's actually kind of cool looking, but I kind of wish I just had normal pandas, but they are interesting. Ugh, I look a little dry in there. Not super dry, but I'm going to moisten them down while I have easy access to the water bottle here. There. Nice and wet. Let's see. Do I have green spots? I don't have green spots. That is a species I have not ever kept. Kind of cool looking though. Let's see. There was just this house maybe similar to what you have. Okay, let's see. If you're sold as just Huffs, they're probably the nominate form and not the black form. There's a weird looking panda, a little bit weird looking. Let's see. Oh, some of those look fairly normal. I don't know if you can see the ones on the substrate that I just disturbed. They're all running off to hide. They're so weird looking, some of them. It's kind of cool, but... See, there's one has an extra thin stripe. Hopefully you can even see that. I don't know what you're looking at. Can you see any of those? They're running too fast. They're running away. So TDI exotics, when you say your dairy cows are turning orange, are they getting like orange tinge to their antennae and legs kind of thing? Because that appears to be normal, and it appears to be an artifact of their sequestering like colorants, like carotenoids. Okay, that's very common. It's just they're getting carotenoids from their diet, and they're storing them in their tissues, and so they look orange. That's pretty normal. So it's not a genetic thing; it's just a dietary thing. But it's kind of cool. Oh, Duke and Enzo getting the Christ Armadillidium. I love those too. Those are so fun. Christ Armadillidium. Fun little spikies. Okay, I'm just going to show you my Grindleworm culture here, y'all. Got this from Jacob over at Colony and Culture recently. You can see they're eating dog food. There are just tons of them storing around. They're just gathering around the dog food. I put in 4 pieces today. This piece already gone. This piece being eaten. These pieces being eaten. So Grindleworms may show up in your isopod enclosures once in a while. generally not cause for alarm. They make great fish food. And they're delicious if you're a fish, but I'm going to politely decline your invitation to eat some, Frank. A spoonful would be too many. These are great for fish. They're great for small aquatic amphibians. They're great for small terrestrial amphibians. And Zuzu, good question. They're not a type of nematode, although in isopod enclosures are often misidentified as nematodes. Nematodes found in isopod enclosures, it's not uncommon for them to be found, but they're typically much smaller. Whereas these, you can see up against the back, they're pretty small, but they're not as tiny as nematodes typically are. And I have seen grindleworms get up to about 1 inch long. It's rare, but in ideal conditions, they get pretty big. Or I've had them in compost bins along with redworms and stuff, get about 1 inch long. But typically they stay more like this, so maybe up to 1/2 inch long or so, and they make fantastic fish food. So if you find small worms with black heads in isopod bins, those are typically fly larvae of one type or another, often fungus gnat larvae. And JH, yeah, I have these to feed to my fish. That is what they are. They are to feed to my fish. It's a new colony, but it's very promising. They grow extremely quickly, very fast breeders. So let me see. Now I've broken my rule. I'm having you look at bear stuff again. Let's take a look at some Jestroy. That's another one we were going to look at. I have about 9 minutes. And I'm going to have a hard time making sure that you can see what's going on in here because I can't see a thing. I don't know why my screen's all dark. So frustrating. Can we see the water bugs? Yeah, Duke and Enzo, I think that's what you're encountering. That's what you're encountering is fungus gnat larvae. Here's a bunch of Jestroy. Hopefully you can see them. Looking at random springtails, there's definitely some random springtails in here. I just adore Jestroy, and I wish these could be shipped because I would be producing so many of these if I could ship them. So phorid flies, I believe it's spelled Phorid. Phorid flies feed on dead material, and certain ones of them are even worse. There are different phorid flies out there. Some of them just feed on dead material and they're kind of annoying and yucky and a sign that there's something wrong because you've got dead insects or dead arthropods of some kind or whatever in your enclosure, so that's not good. That could be a bad thing. But also there are some that will feed on more things, and I know that TJ was mentioning one of his live streams. He got one of the nastier ones that can eat more things, and we're causing a lot of problems in his bins. So hopefully he's gotten rid of those now. It's been a while. Let's see. So Duke and Enzo the Iggies. I've heard of Jestroy with orange bandings. I think they call them something. I can't remember what they call them. But anyway, that's cool. You should isolate some. So these isopods are not shippable for me. And yeah, I don't have a permit to ship these. It's too bad because I would, like I said, I would sell a ton of these. They're amazing. Somebody asked, I think it was Frank, asked for zingers. Let's look at zingers. Zingers are Jestroy too, but they're a different form. The axanthic form of zingers, I believe. At least that's their phenotype would lead me to believe that they're an axanthic form, meaning they do not express yellow pigments. This is getting tricky. Got big stacks of isopods all around me here. Oh, sorry, bumped. That's one of my Jestroy. I have 2 Jestroy bins, one of them bigger than that one. And the other one has a ton of babies in it. Oh, wow, you've just about finished off your leaf litter, haven't you? I mean, you're fast. These are zingers, so they're Jestroy. You can see a bunch of babies. Hopefully you can see the bunch of babies in here. They're they don't have yellow pigment, so it comes out as black and white, and they look fantastic. That's true, Zuzu. Oh, I knew what you were talking about in my therapeutic life. You meant Jestroy, I knew that. No worries. Zingers really are pretty. I'm usually not a fan, and I've said this before, I'm usually not a fan of a mutation that removes coloration, reduces coloration from the wild type. I have a couple of exceptions to that rule, and this is one of them. I love the wild type Jestroy, but I also love these, and it's really hard to pick. They're just so fantastic looking. And my therapeutic life, I can almost guarantee you're going to have zebras within a few months. Almost guarantee it. And Zuzu, yeah, they are a lot like spotty zebras. They tend to get bigger. Their average size is bigger, and their spots tend to be really big too on their bodies. And they're almost wedges rather than spots. They have 4 lines of stripes. As opposed to Montenegro, which has 3, or werneri, that has 5. 4 lines of stripes. So that's one way you can distinguish them. I mean, there are other ways too, but. JJ, you have Porcellio werneri that are consuming each other? Whoa. Yeah, you might want to boost the protein. Give them some fish food or something like that. See if that helps. And Duke and Enzo, yeah, you've got the monochrome trio going on. Gray, white, and black, it's true. Grayscale trio? What do I mean? So Bald Dandy, if they're eating it, that's totally up to you if you want to crush it. It might make them easier, might make it easier for them to take off bits and run away with it, but totally up to you, whatever you want to do. If they're just eating it, and they're finishing it off, no problem. But I see Incog Inverts is chiming in too. Yeah, good point. If it looks like they're not finishing it in time, then you totally could do that. Mark Martin, congrats on the dairy cows. They will do that. That's awesome. So a person, how big is the werneri enclosure? The one you saw a little while ago? That's just a 6 quart. But maybe you're talking to somebody else about them eating each other. Yeah, one thing I like about powdered food or big chunks is that they can't carry it away and they can't really fight over it. With a big chunk, like a piece of dog food, only the biggest isopods can even think about carrying it around. And with powders, they all just graze, basically. So, yeah, good point. Oh, yeah, the freshwater river shrimp, also known as gammarus, are a good one. Yep, we have about a minute and a half. So I'm going to put these Jestroy away carefully. And I need to get them some more leaf litter ASAP. Is there one more isopod we can look at before we go? So Mark, I do have some videos on renewing the enclosure and changing the substrate and all that. I do have some, but yeah. You can split the enclosure and split half the substrate into a new enclosure and then replace it half with new substrate and do the same in the other one. And half the isopods too. So we have seen the Montenegro, but we haven't seen the wild types. Maybe we should look at some of the wild type Montenegro. We just saw the oranges at the beginning. So let me show you the wild type Montenegro really quick. And then we've only got about 30 seconds left, so hopefully we can see something in that time. Especially since I can't see what I'm doing. But there's a bunch of them right there. Probably even more of them under here. A bunch on the ground. Hopefully you can see those. They do tend to flee rather quickly. But I do love the Montenegro. Definitely one of my favorites. If they got a little bigger and weren't so shy, they might be my favorite. I do have Big Pine Key. It's about time for me to quit now, but let's do next time. Let's do some big pine key. So thank you, everybody, and I'll catch you on the next stream. Next week is going to be a short, but we're going to have a stream 2 weeks from now. So see you soon.